An Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine is an apex predator of the deep ocean. It is a piece of sovereign United States territory that costs approximately $3 billion to construct, stretches 560 feet in length, and is powered by an S-8G pressurized water nuclear reactor. It is designed to submerge into the blackness of the ocean and remain completely undetectable for 90 consecutive days or more. But a nuclear reactor does not require sleep, and a Trident II D5 ballistic missile does not suffer from psychological fatigue. The most fragile, high-maintenance system aboard a nuclear submarine is the human crew of roughly 150 officers and enlisted sailors. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the bell. We cover the stories the history books skip. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Sustaining 150 biological engines inside a sealed steel tube submerged at 400 feet requires an operational logistics chain that defies civilian comprehension. An aircraft carrier can receive underway replenishment from a supply ship every week, taking on fresh produce and thousands of gallons of fuel. A submarine on a strategic deterrent patrol cannot. Once the submarine detaches its mooring lines from the pier at Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay or Naval Base Kitsap, the supply chain is completely, utterly severed. Every single calorie required for the next 3 months must already be physically loaded, inventoried, and secured inside the pressure hull. The financial arithmetic of this isolation is staggering. The United States Navy Basic Allowance for Subsistence Rate for Enlisted Mess Operations dictates a budget of exactly $16.38 per sailor per day, as of recent fiscal years. Multiply that $16.38 by 150 sailors. Multiply that daily expenditure by a standard 90-day deterrent patrol. The raw grocery receipt for a single submarine deployment totals approximately $221,130. That $250,000 purchases roughly 14,000 to 16,000 pounds of food. Moving that tonnage from the pier into the submarine is an exercise in brutal, coordinated manual labor. There are no massive cargo elevator doors on the side of a submarine. Every single box, bag, and must be lowered by crane or passed by hand through a logistical access trunk that is scarcely 30 inches in diameter. The crew forms a continuous human chain, passing heavy boxes down vertical ladder wells and through narrow, watertight passageways. Cardboard is strictly prohibited from remaining aboard the submarine. Cardboard is highly flammable, creates excessive particulate dust that clogs air filtration systems, and provides a breeding ground for pests. Therefore, as the human chain passes the provisions into the lower decks, designated sailors strip every single item out of its cardboard packaging before it enters the storage compartments. Space aboard a submarine is the ultimate premium commodity, calculated in square inches. The primary dry provisions room is so small that standard shelving is mathematically insufficient. The culinary specialists employ a loading technique known as decking the can room. They lay thousands of massive institutional-sized number 10 steel cans directly onto the steel deck of the storage room, packing them wall-to-wall in a single, perfectly level layer. Once the entire deck is covered in cans of tomato sauce, green beans, and dehydrated potatoes, the crew places sheets of marine-grade plywood directly on top of the cans. This plywood becomes the new floor. They then stack a second layer of cans, place another layer of plywood, and repeat the process. For the first month of a patrol, the sailors literally walk on top of their future meals, slowly lowering the floor level week by week as the provisions are consumed and the cans are removed from the bottom layers. The frozen and chilled storage rooms are similarly packed to absolute capacity. The spaces are loaded with the precision of a high-stakes geometric puzzle, ensuring that the items required for week 1 are accessible without having to unpack the items required for week 12. The refrigeration compressors maintaining these freeze and chill rooms run continuously, drawing direct electrical power from the submarine's steam turbine generators. If a refrigeration compressor fails while submerged, the culinary specialists have mere hours to physically relocate thousands of dollars of highly perishable meat before it spoils and compromises the entire patrol's nutritional baseline. The personnel responsible for managing this $250,000 inventory and converting it into daily morale are designated as Culinary Specialist Submarine or CSS. The Submarine Culinary Specialist is a volunteer who has passed rigorous psychological and physiological screening to serve in the silent service. They operate in a completely different tactical and operational reality than their surface fleet counterparts. On a massive aircraft carrier, a food service division might consist of 150 cooks. On an Ohio-class submarine, the entire culinary division consists of roughly 4 to 6 personnel. These individuals are compensated through a complex layered military pay structure that reflects the hazards of their environment. An E5 CSS Petty Officer Second Class receives a base pay of approximately $3,200 per month. Because they are operating on a submarine, they receive submarine duty incentive pay, which for an E5 with over 4 years of service adds approximately $300 to $350 per month. They also receive career sea pay, adding another $400 monthly, plus standard subsistence and housing allowances. When you calculate the fully burdened labor costs for a 5-man submarine culinary division, the Navy is investing approximately $25,000 to $30,000 per month purely in food service labor. Over a 90-day patrol, the labor cost to prepare the food runs between $75,000 and $90,000. This represents a highly specialized, highly compensated workforce tasked with the single most critical morale function on the boat. They do not work standard shifts, they work punishing, continuous rotations that keep the galley operational 24 hours a day. The physical workspace where this labor occurs is astonishingly compact. A submarine galley is typically no larger than 10 by 10 feet. Within this roughly 100 square foot area, the CSS team must prepare 3 hot meals plus midnight rations for 150 men every single day. The equipment packed into this space is engineered specifically for the extreme conditions of a submerged pressure hull. There are no open flames on a submarine. Natural gas or propane ranges are impossible because they consume precious oxygen and produce carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Therefore, every single piece of cooking equipment is heavily wired, high-amperage electrical hardware. The galley features 2 stacked convection ovens, a specialized deep-fat fryer, a heavy-duty flat-top griddle, and a 20-gallon steam-jacketed kettle. The replacement cost of this submarine-grade equipment far exceeds commercial restaurant equivalents. A maritime-certified electric deep fryer, designed to prevent highly flammable 350-degree oil from surging and spilling when the submarine takes a sudden 20-degree downward pitch, costs upwards of $15,000. The equipment is bolted directly to the steel bulkheads and decks using heavy shock-absorbing mounts designed to withstand the violent acoustic shock waves of nearby depth charge or torpedo detonations. Cooking in a sealed steel tube at the bottom of the ocean presents a massive atmospheric engineering challenge. When a cook sears a batch of steaks on the flat-top griddle or drops a basket of French fries into the deep fryer, it releases massive amounts of aerosolized grease, smoke, and particulate matter into the air. In a civilian kitchen, an exhaust hood simply vents this contaminated air outside the building. A submarine cannot vent anything outside. Every cubic foot of air inside the submarine is trapped. It must be continuously filtered, scrubbed, and recirculated. The galley is equipped with heavy-duty electrostatic precipitators integrated directly into the ventilation hoods. These precipitators use high-voltage electrical fields to ionize and trap grease particles before they can enter the submarine's central ventilation system. If these precipitators fail, aerosolized grease will quickly coat the internal components of the submarine's critical life support and electronic systems, creating an immediate, catastrophic fire hazard. The chemistry of the submarine atmosphere dictates exactly what the cooks can and cannot do. Standard commercial oven cleaners and heavy chlorine bleach are strictly banned from submarine galleys. These common civilian chemicals outgas volatile organic compounds. If these compounds enter the ventilation system, they interact lethally with the monoethanolamine or MEA used in the submarine's carbon dioxide scrubbers. The culinary specialists must use highly specific Navy-approved chemical solvents that cost significantly more than off-the-shelf products to maintain sanitation without poisoning their own crew. The operational day in the submarine galley begins in the absolute quiet of the mid-watch, typically around 0300. The breakfast preparation is a mechanical, highly choreographed routine. The exact cost and composition of the breakfast menu shift dramatically depending on the timeline of the patrol. During the first 2 to 3 weeks of a patrol, the crew enjoys the fresh food window. During this initial phase, the cooks prepare fresh shell eggs, fresh milk, and fresh fruit. A breakfast service utilizing 300 fresh shell eggs costs the Navy approximately $60 to $75 in raw ingredients at bulk contract pricing. But fresh produce has a hard biological expiration date. A submarine has no access to ultraviolet sterilization or advanced atmospheric delay systems for its fruit lockers. By day 21, the fresh eggs are gone, the fresh milk is gone, and the apples and oranges have either been consumed or have succumbed to rot. This marks the psychological transition of the patrol, From day 21 until day 90, the culinary specialists rely entirely on shelf-stable, frozen, and dehydrated ingredients. Breakfast shifts to liquid pasteurized eggs pumped from frozen cartons or powdered dehydrated eggs reconstituted with water. The milk transitions to ultra-high temperature, or UHT, pasteurized milk served from aseptic boxes. The baseline starch for these breakfasts is often oatmeal, prepared in the 20-gallon electric kettle. The raw cost of the rolled oats required to feed 150 men is mathematically negligible, running perhaps $12 to $15 for bulk bags. However, the true cost of that oatmeal lies in the water required to cook it. A submarine floating in the middle of the Pacific Ocean is surrounded by millions of gallons of water, but every drop of fresh water inside the hull must be artificially manufactured. Submarines generate their fresh water using massive energy-intensive distillation plants or reverse osmosis units. These systems draw thermal and electrical power directly from the nuclear reactor to flash evaporate or force seawater through microscopic membranes. The Navy calculates the cost of generating this water not just in mechanical wear and tear, but in the thermal load placed on the reactor plant. Therefore, the water used to boil the oatmeal, and more importantly, the water used to scrub the massive kettle afterward, is a highly calculated, heavily monitored tactical resource. The logistics of serving the meal are just as constrained as the cooking process. The enlisted crew eats in the crew's mess, a space that typically features exactly 40 seats. You cannot seat 150 men in 40 seats simultaneously. The meal service is a rapid, staggered, continuous flow of humanity. Sailors are allocated approximately 15 to 20 minutes to sit down, consume their calories, and immediately vacate the seat for the next man coming off watch. The serving line is a narrow stainless steel corridor. The cooks stand behind the hot inserts, wielding serving tongs and portion spoons, maintaining a relentless pace. There is no lingering, there is no expansive dining experience. It is an exercise in caloric refueling. Unlike the surface fleet, where officers and enlisted sailors often have entirely different food qualities or preparation methods, the submarine force operates on a doctrine of absolute culinary parity. The commanding officer of a nuclear submarine eats the exact same food, prepared by the exact same cooks, from the exact same serving line as the lowest-ranking 18-year-old seaman. The only difference is that the officers take their trays to the wardroom, while the enlisted men eat in the crew's mess. Lunch and dinner services follow the same grueling, high-throughput model. The lunch preparation begins while the breakfast dishes are still being sanitized. The dinner preparation begins before the lunch serving line closes, because a submarine operates without sunlight, without windows, and on a rigid 18-hour watch rotation, the concept of a normal day completely evaporates. The crew experiences days that consist of 6 hours on watch and 12 hours off, rotating continuously. In this disorienting, timeless environment, the only reliable metric of passing time is the menu. Taco Tuesday, Burger Wednesday, and Pizza Saturday become the temporal anchors that prevent the crew from losing their grip on the calendar. The food is not just nutrition, it is the primary psychological chronometer for the entire submarine. The military deeply understands the psychological power of this food, and they budget specifically for high-impact morale meals. The most critical culinary event of any deployment is halfway night. This occurs exactly on day 45 of a 90-day patrol, marking the moment the submarine stops moving away from home and begins the long journey back. The culinary specialists execute a menu that rivals high-end civilian steakhouses. The menu typically features prime rib, grilled steak, or lobster tails. The financial cost of halfway night is significantly higher than a standard daily menu. Procuring 150 lobster tails and premium cuts of beef at Naval Supply Systems Command bulk pricing costs the government approximately $2,500 to $3,500 for a single meal. This represents nearly a full day and a half of the total food budget blown on a single 2-hour dinner service. The food service officer meticulously manages the $16.38 daily allowance during the preceding 44 days, serving cheaper starches and stews to build the financial surplus required to purchase those lobsters. The return on investment for this massive expenditure is instant and measurable. The sudden influx of high-quality protein and the breaking of the monotonous routine deliver a massive spike in dopamine and morale, resetting the psychological endurance of the crew for the back half of the patrol. Following every single meal service, the culinary specialists face the brutal reality of submarine sanitation. They operate the standard Navy 3-sink manual warewashing method in a space barely wide enough for a single man to stand. The first sink is a hot soapy wash, the second is a hot clear rinse, and the third is a chemical sanitizing dip. Because space and water are at such a premium, they cannot rely on massive commercial conveyor dishwashers that consume hundreds of gallons of water per hour. The chemical sanitizer used in the third sink must be meticulously measured. As stated earlier, chlorine-based sanitizers are restricted due to atmospheric outgassing risks. The cooks rely on specialized iodine or quaternary ammonium compounds. If the concentration is too low, bacteria will survive and spread through the crew. If the concentration is too high, the chemical residue will taint the food and waste the expensive, specialized cleaning supplies that cannot be restocked for months. Once the equipment is cleaned, the culinary specialists must deal with the waste. You cannot simply throw a garbage bag out the back door of a submerged submarine. Every single ounce of solid waste generated by 150 men over 90 days must either be stored internally or ejected mechanically into the ocean. The disposal of food scraps, plastic packaging, and the thousands of number 10 steel cans is handled by the Trash Disposal Unit, or TDU. The TDU is a vertical pressurized airlock tube that breaches the pressure hull of the submarine, leading directly to the ocean. Operating the TDU is a dangerous, loud, and mechanically complex evolution. The culinary specialists cannot simply dump loose trash into the tube. All solid waste must be violently compressed, loaded into heavy-duty cylindrical poly bags, and sealed. Because plastic and food waste are naturally buoyant, a bag of trash ejected into the ocean would simply float to the surface. A floating trail of American trash would instantly reveal the classified location of a ballistic missile submarine to any adversary surveillance aircraft or satellite. To prevent this, the trash bags must be heavily weighted to ensure they sink immediately to the ocean floor. The Navy uses specialized cast iron or galvanized steel TDU weights for this exact purpose. These heavy metal weights are placed inside the bottom of every single trash cylinder. A single TDU weight costs the Navy approximately $15 to $25, depending on raw material contracts and manufacturing tolerances. A submarine can easily process and shoot 10 to 15 cylinders of trash per day. This means the Navy is spending approximately $150 to $375 every single day, or upwards of $33,000 per patrol, purely on the disposable heavy metal weights required to sink the garbage. Once the weighted cylinder is loaded into the TDU, the inner hatch is sealed. The tube is flooded with pressurized seawater from the outside ocean to equalize the pressure. A massive mechanical ball valve opens, and the trash cylinder drops into the blackness. The TDU evolution must be perfectly coordinated with the sonar room. Dropping heavy steel cans and operating massive hydraulic valves creates a distinct, loud acoustic signature in the water. An adversary attack submarine listening passively on sonar can hear a TDU shot from miles away. Therefore, the commanding officer only authorizes TDU operations when the tactical environment is deemed secure, meaning the galleys often have to stockpile rotting, compressed garbage in the passageways for days during sensitive stealth operations. Operating a submarine galley requires a mastery of thermodynamics, chemistry, supply chain mathematics, and psychological warfare. The 4 to 6 enlisted sailors working the deep fryer and the steam kettle are operating the most critical life support system on the entire vessel. They manage $250,000 in inventory, utilizing millions of dollars of specialized maritime hardware while breathing recycled air and never seeing the sun. The $16.38 allocated per sailor is a trivial number compared to the multi-billion-dollar cost of the nuclear reactor and the ballistic missiles. But without that food, and without the men trained to prepare it under extreme atmospheric pressure, the reactor is useless. The submarine force is the most lethal, survivable deterrent in the United States military arsenal, and it runs entirely on the calories generated in a 10 by 10 foot steel box. If this story gave you a new respect for the men behind the serving line, hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps more people find this channel. Drop a comment below. Did you serve? Do you remember your first hot meal after days in the field? Tell us. And share this video with someone who wore the uniform. They'll know exactly what this story means.